Once again, good afternoon to all my fellow students, and also a very warm good morning to our IAC member, Dr. Armin Bruck. So it is my great honor to welcome Dr. Armin Bruck, CEO and founder of Dr. Armin Bruck Advisory Board Consulting and member of the MNO IAC, to deliver a guest lecture on leadership. And he's all the way from Germany today. So Dr. Bruck was the immediate past CEO of Siemens Private Limited. And I believe most of you would have remembered his guest lecture last year on digitalization. So Dr. Bruck has more than 30 years of extensive marketing, sales, and general management experience with MNC in product, systems, large turnkey, and EPC business. He held a distinguished career advancement record at Siemens previously, covering the positions of product manager, director sales, managing director, cluster CEO, lead country CEO, and chairman. With his vast experience, he founded his own company, an advisory board consulting business last year. So we are so fortunate to have Dr. Bruck on our IAC. So may I now invite Dr. Bruck to deliver the IAC guest lecture on inspiring leaderships in the digital age post-COVID. Before we start, if you can look at the screen right now, there is this Slido that we have set up. So in the course of the lecture, please feel free to pose questions that I will help to moderate after the guest lecture. So if you could go to Slido and key in the number 82635. I repeat again, is 82635. Or you can also scan the QR code right now to go to Slido. Okay, so I have done an introduction. So now I will stop sharing screen and I will hand over the sharing of screen to Dr. Armin Bruck. So over to you, Dr. Armin Bruck.
Thank you, Kenneth. Give me a minute. And I think here we can start. Okay. So, hearty welcome to our webinar on the topic of leadership, or I'd like to better call it inspiring leadership in the digital age post-COVID-19. As from my point of view, leadership should always somehow inspire the people. Otherwise, you could use probably robots or artificial intelligence to lead them. Furthermore, leadership must be situation connected, as in different situations, different leadership characteristics have to be more emphasized than others. The more precise we are able to describe the specific situation we are in, the more focused we can apply the situation-specific successful leadership styles. And it is very likely that over a week or a month or even over a day, depending on where we are and whom we lead and how the overall situation is, different success factors may apply. Therefore, now we are in the midst of the digital economy on our way to the contact minimized economy, as I would like to call it, which is definitely built on digital elements. So thanks for joining our webinar. I'm very, very excited. It's my first webinar, never done so before, which is a first lessons learned for leaders. You always have to explore new avenues. And don't be shy. There is no wrongdoing. You just can learn and experience. So thank you very much also to Kenneth and the SIT to give me the opportunity to share with you a bit of my over 30 years of experience in different leadership roles. Whatever the future may bring in terms of new technologies, processes, business models, and workforce characteristics, if we do not regularly address leadership also, we might miss a mission-critical part of the overall picture of the future. And as you can imagine from my short introduction, I find leadership is the most challenging discipline in business due to the enormous complexity. So why is it so super complex? Well, simple said. You have to deal with so many stakeholders, maybe direct stakeholders like employees reporting to you, and indirect stakeholders like your boss, colleagues, or even your family. And it is context dependent. For example, geography plays a big role, time, of course, overall situation also. My sharing is based on my personal key factors for success of an inspiring leadership over the last 30 years at Siemens, in Germany, in Indonesia, in India, and last but not least, in Singapore and ASEAN. So it includes not only my personal development over a period of over 30 years, but also experience in different parts of the world, mainly Germany, including a global headquarter responsibility, means a responsibility for a business which is worldwide done, and Asia in detail, where I lived over 17 years. I had applied those key factors of success also in managing our Singapore's Siemens Digitalization Hub in 2018 and 19 to check whether they can also be applied in the digital world, which is, of course, very, very important. In those 2 years of the Siemens Digitalization Hub in Singapore, I probably learned, adopted, and adjusted more in my leadership habits than I did last 28 years before, and it's still work in process. We launched our Digitalization Hub in Singapore in July 2017, and I immediately consider this as an accelerated ecosystem to learn, experience, and develop leadership, beside its main purpose, of course, namely co-creation of digital application. I share a little bit later the details. Last but not least, I have used the last 6 months, which were very special for all of us, to intensively think about whether my personal leadership key factors for success would also be appropriate in the so-called contact minimized economy, which might be the new normal post-COVID. We will see later the outcome. So it is a very simple methodology of my personal leadership framework, from key factors for success to digital check and to a contact minimized economy check. That's it, basically, nothing more, not a rocket science. So here we start. First, I have to draw my personal picture of inspiring leadership, which is not easy because everyone has different ideas on what an inspiring leader should be. And there are shelves of articles, reports, presentations, and books available on that topic. Therefore, please allow me to stick with my personal leadership lessons learned as a basis for comparison to see what came out of them during 20-month experience in our Digitalization Hub, plus final check whether this still would hold in a contact minimized economy, or to be more precise, what would this mean if going forward maybe 70% work from home and 90% Zoom leadership meetings is the new normal. So here we go. I personally find leaders more or less practice, inspiring leaders more or less practice these 5 essentials, which are somehow interlinked anyway. They trust instead of control. Trust is the basis of everything, of every interaction between human beings, so it must not miss in a leadership framework also. If you don't trust your people, don't engage them. If they don't trust you, they will block you. Second, they encourage risk-taking and entrepreneurship. If you don't live a little bit of freedom in terms of risk-taking, then better don't start a business. Business is about risk management, and your people, your team will support you in the management of those risks. So let them also take their own risks, of course, in a somehow controlled way. They empower instead of limit. You have to empower your team. Empowerment is the basis to move mountains for them. If you don't empower them, then you don't need them. Then you can make everything on your own, every decision on your own, and every process on your own. So please don't forget about empowerment of your team instead of limitation. Inspiring leaders coach instead of instruct. So instruction is a little bit like micromanagement. And again, why would you need a team if you instruct everything? So coach them, give them your ideas, but don't tell them You have to use it, but you be a sparring partner. That's it. And last but not least, I find inspiring leaders lead by example and presence. So we could also call it walk the talk. If you recommend something, live it on your own, and don't live it at home in a secret room, but be there with your leaders, be together with them, feel them, and breathe the atmosphere. So in addition, I've learned that an inspiring leader does not just practice this essential once in a while. So once a month is the risk-taking day, and once a quarter is the coaching day. No, inspiring leaders live and breathe these essentials and demonstrate them in a daily little actions, like a pat on the back for a job well done, or a question, how can I help you in a meeting, or I'm here when the going gets tough. I love to compare it to brushing teeth. Don't laugh, it's that simple. Think about this comparison, which I love so much. Brushing teeth is in general not a big deal, at least not for most of the people. Nor does it require major efforts, but also something that shows immediately impact. But in the long run, it makes a difference. It will keep your teeth healthy. More importantly, it will not drive away people when you open your mouth. Those 5 leadership essentials, when practiced permanently, like brushing the teeth, become habits, which will definitely form your character and finally help to shape an inspiring leader. Now, the million-dollar question is, in the process of digital transformation and contact minimized economy, are those 5 essentials still key factors for success of an inspiring leader? Or do they have to be adjusted, or maybe even dropped if it's completely wrong in this new context? Let's one by one have a look at what came out of them when applied in the Siemens Singapore Digitalization Hub, and let's check the impact in a contact minimized economy. For example, 50% work from home as the new normal. First of all, trusting instead of controlling. The formation of the Siemens Singapore Digitalization Hub in 2017 was a benchmark case in itself of how leaders should trust instead of control. And here's why. It took us just 4 months without piles of business case demands and endless approval processes to get the green light and funding from the headquarters. And this is nothing special with Siemens. You will find that in all, maybe the bigger the companies, the more they have these kind of approval processes. So it takes a while to bring your idea into a business case. And if the business case shows long-term, short-term, long-term positive result, usually you get the funding. This is the normal process. But here it was different. It was done in a very, very small time frame without this piles of business cases. This was definitely a unique lean approval process for a multi-million-dollar investment, which motivated and encouraged us so much that it boosted all our engagement beyond limits. It basically created an ownership feeling amongst us, and owners usually take good care of their assets. So additional control is not really needed to keep going. Later, we were transforming Siemens Singapore from a sales and service organization into a full-fledged value-creating organization, much beyond just value adding. That means in addition to the product, solution, and services sourced at a large extent from Siemens headquarters, we then co-created new digital applications with our partners and customers. As a result of this value chain expansion, our served customers and markets clearly increased for us. We were even collaborating with a fish farm. Who have ever thought that Siemens could provide a digital solution for a fish farm? And I have to quickly tell you how this was, how this started. I was invited by the Singapore ambassador together with some other CEOs at a round table, and everybody, all of us, we explained a little bit our business. So I talked about Siemens and digitalization as a special case. And beside me was a guy who was a German guy owning a fish farm in Singapore. He looked at me and said, Armin, could you think about bringing this digital spirit to my fish farm? And I said, I don't know, but it's cool. Let's give it a try. And this is how the whole thing started. It was at the end of the day extremely successful. Maybe you followed the newspaper articles also. So this means trust instead of control definitely remains an important key factor for success, for leadership success in the digital age, and even more so in the contact minimized economy. It starts with work from home itself. How could you allow work from home if you don't trust your team, right? So very clear for me that leadership essential trust instead of control is of utmost importance in the digital world too. And it's even a precondition to manage and lead in the contact minimized economy. So all thumbs up. Next one, on encourage risk-taking and entrepreneurship to explore new business opportunities. Today's digital economy has opened up a multitude of opportunities for entrepreneurs, which can be easily seen in the rising numbers of startups. To consequently succeed in this digital age, entrepreneurship and risk-taking must go hand in hand. Here is an interesting story for you, and it's eye-opening, I can tell you. About 30 years ago, Siemens missed such an opportunity that required both entrepreneurship and risk-taking to invest in a groundbreaking technology. There was a startup those days that was developing a technology for internet telephony. And this startup asked Siemens whether we would be interested to invest in their company, in their new technology. At that time, Siemens was the world market leader in digital switching systems. Maybe that's why our people were a bit arrogant, I have to admit. I can say so. I was working in the Siemens group at that time. Their response was the following: making phone calls over the internet will not work. And if it did, we would certainly have already invented it. Who else? So, as it turned out, those were the famous last words. Within a decade, our Siemens telecommunication business ran into serious difficulties as we missed the internet protocol bus, and we had to exit a business that once accounted for roughly 1/4 of our total annual Siemens global revenue. By the way, the startup was called Cisco. I guess no more explanation needed on that. Since then, we have been very careful not to make the same mistake again and miss the bus again, and are constantly encouraging our people to take controlled risks, to be entrepreneurs and try new things and push boundaries. That kind of attitude was also very important, especially at our digitalization hub in Singapore. And that's how we clinched a big project from Singapore Land Transport Authority in 2018. Together with our consortium partner, ST Engineering Electronics, we were awarded an almost $19 million contract to develop and implement a rail enterprise asset management system, REAMS. It will integrate asset information across the entire MRT system so that the operating assets' health can be monitored and maintained predictively. The goal is, of course, to improve reliability and operational efficiency and optimize overall lifecycle cost for Land Transport Authority. This project was one of the first fruits of labor from our digitalization hub. We work with our partner, ST Engineering, to develop the total solution, still not ready yet. It's basically work in progress that has not just been implemented anywhere in the world. It's the first of its kind. The team saw the golden opportunity to work on a leading edge solution that will benefit the public. In the past, we, Siemens, probably would have said, we don't have the exact solution that the customer wants, and we don't have the right competence or full competence. So we can't go for this tender. But our new digitalization mentality told us to take the chance, find a partner who can complete our capabilities and work with the customer to co-create the solution, somehow which has been never done before, neither by us nor anybody else, complete new territory. And of course, this is also needed in the contact minimized economy, as in so far, nothing will change. Business is always about entrepreneurship, and one will always have to take risks to be successful, no matter we meet in person or digital, no matter we sit in the same room or in a Zoom meeting. Therefore, lessons learned, encourage entrepreneurship beyond risk-taking is a must. Let's come to the third essential that I believe strongly in: empowering instead of limiting. Research has regularly demonstrated that when employees feel empowered at work, it is associated with stronger job performance, job satisfaction, and commitment to the organization. Let me share you two examples of the creativity and ownership culture that arose within the Siemens Digitalization Hub because employees were just empowered. One of our very ingenious employees at the Digitalization Hub, on his own initiative, developed a mobile app to connect customers, our Siemens customers, and service providers, people who can provide a service to those customers. Very simple idea. He shared the initial concept with his division lead, who liked the idea so much that he got the employee to present the idea to me, and I liked it too. We gave the blessing and support for the commercial development of the application called Swift, without knowing all the details. How could we know how to make money out of it? It was a new business model. It was a really new business model for Siemens. We started with only a very vague idea, nothing else, in the strong belief in this employee. Swift was launched in the middle of 2018. It was the first digital application developed in Siemens Singapore for industrial services. It is basically a resource management tool for customers to order services, which retains all information related to the service jobs and offers a bird's eye view of deployed contractors. Now we know the idea was outstanding successful. One more example of empowerment that I'm really proud of is the Siemens DigiFest in 2018, which was basically a hackathon we had never done before. You might laugh, but Siemens and hackathon are not words that would usually be put together in those days. But our Digitalization Hub team felt that that organizing a hackathon was a good way for us to showcase and promote our digitalization expertise, collaborate with industry experts, and reach out to university students. So we gave the green light and empowered the team to organize the event. They had to organize it on their own. We had no clue on that. It was a smashing success. I was amazed by the number of industry partners that the team brought together, and I was totally overwhelmed by the digital ideas that the participants came up with. These two experiences have reconfirmed for me that empowerment can indeed unleash so much potential, even more so in the digital world. And when it comes to the contact minimized economy, it goes without saying that also there empowerment is absolutely needed to be successful. I find empowerment is even more important if you do not have the chance to see and meet your team permanently, because they are probably away or do not have the possibility to permanently ask for your permission and advice. So better empower them in terms of giving them more freedom to decide and act on their own. Otherwise, especially in the contact minimized economy, you might get stuck in business processes. You become the bottleneck only because an employee cannot get in touch with you. Again here, all thumbs up. Fourth essential, inspiring leaders coach instead of instruct. Today's digital workforce is made up largely of millennials who have very different work culture from baby boomers like myself or Gen Xers. Millennials have a can-do attitude. They like challenges and new experiences, want to contribute, and very importantly, want to be coached or mentored rather than instructed. I've seen by myself a huge increase of employees seeking for my mentorship in the last 3 years. They want to look up to their bosses, to learn from them, and to receive regular feedback. I'm sure I don't have to preach about the benefits of coaching for individual employees and for the company. Let me share you a coaching initiative that we started 2 years ago in Singapore, a very cool one. It's called reverse mentoring, whereby senior management, like myself, are mentored by a millennial. We realized that in this digital age, one of the best ways for senior managers to understand and manage millennials better is to be mentored by them. Why not? Having been mentored by a 27-year-old employee who has only been in Siemens for 3 years at the time, I found this reverse mentoring to be very effective and insightful. My reverse mentor shared with me how the millennials tick and feel, how they perceive my strategies and actions, and how I can better reach out to them. Out of a millennial's perspective, she suggested new ways of doing things that can be really effective and refreshing. Besides this special form of mentoring, classical mentoring and coaching is really great for both sides also, the mentor as well as the mentee. And I really love it and had excellent experience with my 15 mentees worldwide for many, many years. Even today, from time to time, we have a chat on phone, as mentoring is beyond company boundaries. So again, the question, how coaching would be perceived in the contact minimized economy. Well, again, goes without saying, in the contact minimized economy, also coaching, mentoring is of utmost importance for the employees, as it can somehow make up for things which might get lost in the new normal, like a clap on the back or a high five, even a hug. Therefore, my advice is to even increase the coaching intensity if possible. I'm absolutely convinced it will be very well invested time. Let's go to the last leadership essential. Inspiring leaders lead by example and presence. One of the most important examples that leaders need to set is lifelong learning. If we want a workforce that is always seeking to improve and upskill, we need leaders to role model that. So we started a course in Siemens called Applying Digitalization to Our Business. And our senior managers were the pioneer batch to undergo the course, because of course they need to be prepared before they can lead and guide the people in this new space. There are so many new trends, technologies, applications, business models coming up all the time. Leaders need to keep on learning to catch up with the younger generation. One of the things I've learned from my children and millennial employees is how to use social media and social media marketing, despite the fact that I consider myself as super conservative. I've used Facebook a little bit for some years now, but got used to LinkedIn only 2 years ago, so that I have more ways of connecting with colleagues, business partners, other professionals, and friends. And you might laugh again, but these were big steps for me, but it was worth to jump in the water and start to swim, at least a little bit. What really inspired me is using social media marketing for business purpose. And I interacted very close with our Siemens ASEAN social media team, which I personally pushed to be installed, because I was so convinced of the overall idea. And I wanted them to drive this new way of communication. So the team was installed. It was very successful. They covered at the end of the day all ASEAN countries. And again, it's work in progress. I think they are doing better every day. So leading by example also works in the digital world, and it demonstrates to the team that the leader really walking the talk. He's not just giving and telling what the team should do. He does it on his own. Even he might sometimes feel a little bit uncomfortable because, as I said, it's new territory. But leading by example is not enough. Inspiring leaders need to lead by physical presence too. It is always easier to inspire when leaders can be physically seen, touched, and smelled, when they are there to give a pat on the shoulder, a shake a hand, or cheer with the team. We are all people. Leadership presence is a form of communication. It communicates values, helps to motivate the team, and inspires fellowship. And it helps leaders to build up credibility and trust. But I'm sure you can estimate what's coming now. How to be present in the contact minimized economy, where physical presence is to a large extent reduced to a bare minimum, or no more possible, or even not allowed. Well, I find leadership presence is outstanding important, especially in the new normal, which has the tendency to make all of us a little bit isolated. However, we have to find new ways to express it, as the classical pre-pandemic ways, like the famous pat on the back, a high five, or common celebrations of success, will be much reduced to keep a certain kind of physical distance. One idea would be to use the personal time between leader and employees even more intense in terms of discussion intensity. Maybe if leaders spend more time with their teams, digital time then, and try to talk through all relevant topics, even more engaged, and maybe, if wanted and agreed, of course, extend their talks to private things also. Maybe this could partially compensate for the missing physical presence. The other idea I had coming to my mind is to try to more express emotions with words and voice instead of physical reaction, which is extremely difficult, at least for many people, maybe also like me. I mean, what do I express with doing a high five with my employees? Think about, what do you want to express giving a high five to your colleague? For example, I want to express, I'm happy with what you have done, and I'm proud with what you or the team has achieved. It's great to have you in my team, and so on and so forth. This is what I personally want to express when giving the high five. So if I cannot do the high five, I have to say it. I'm really happy with you. I'm super proud that you have achieved this. It's really cool that we are together in a team. Maybe not so easy, as I said, to express emotions by words. We all have to learn and to manage the new normal. And I hope that in our discussion, maybe additional ideas come out. So that's why also leading by example and presence is extremely important. And you see, I have marked in yellow the contact minimized economy issue, because it's work in progress. I have not yet come to a full conclusion what can be a good substitute for a high five, knowing that there are personal boundaries in voice transmission, in emotion transmission by words. So in summary, the 5 leadership essentials that I believe an inspiring leader needs to have are more or less proven to be critical in today's digital age, as well, or maybe even more so in the contact minimized economy. So they are not revolutionary ideas, but important lesson for me was applying old concepts and experiences in my new experience of setting up and managing the digitalization hub for Siemens in Singapore, and it helped me a lot for leaders to navigate through the actual changes and continue to inspire the followers. Some good old values and principles of leadership will still work. I hope you find success and inspiration in your future leadership journey in this digital age and in the contact minimized economy too. I definitely did, and I really look forward now for a good discussion and wish you all the best for the years to come. Thanks for listening. I think back to Kenneth now.
Yes, thank you very much once again, Dr. Armin Bruck. really listen to your sharing with a lot of so-called flashback of my own personal journey in various stages of my career. And I always believe that at some point, when we reflect back, there is always this co-relationship between the 5 essential that you just share with us. So before we launch into the questions, I actually want to do a quick survey with the student. So if I could request for all the students to go to the Slido, I'm going to launch just a very quick word cloud poll. So the question is, among the 5 leadership's essential, namely trust, risk-taking, empowered, coach, and by example and present. So I would like to find out from all of you which essential is the most important to you. Okay, so allow me 3 seconds to get the crowd poll launch. Just give me a second. Okay, so I have launched the crowd poll. So you can actually start typing in the preference essential by you. Okay.
A very interesting question, by the way, Kenneth. I never thought about them, but probably this is a further development of my leadership approach. Amongst the 5 leadership essentials, I strongly believe in what is the outstanding one. Never thought about it. I find them equally important, but a very good question. Let's see what our students tell us.
Yes. So allow me to share screen so you'll be able to see the result at the moment. Okay, so let me know if you are able to see my screen at the moment. So as you can see, we have a very big trust right in the middle standing out, which really means that our new generation would really, they place trust as one of the most important essential, both I think from the perspective of leadership and also from the other perspective, from their perspective that is they want to be trusted by their leaders. So with this quick poll, I would right now like to go into the slide panel discussion and also question and answer. All right, so allow me to stop sharing the screen right now so that I can see everybody. Yeah, okay. So just to share with you that under the question and answer, I have in fact typed in some of the questions that I have in mind. In fact, early this morning, because just going through your topic, and I feel that it is a really important topic for all of us. But I would like to go to one of the student questions to start off. And the student, his name is Aloysius. So he asked, could you share a memorable experience where your leadership skills led to a success in a project? And I believe that he must be asking a very unique project here.
Yeah, there's basically, with similar question, there always comes the one and only, not the one and only, but the outstanding experience in my lifetime, most likely. It's also business, but not core business. But I think it's really worth to share with you. When I was younger, I spent 4 years in Indonesia, from 98 to 2002. I was the boss of information and communication business at Siemens in Indonesia, where we had many, many people on board and many expats also. And as you probably know from the timing, this was the time, 98, when the Suharto regime fell down and military took over. And as I was a very, very young leader there, just 2 or 3 weeks in the job, 2 weeks in the job, I was going to Indonesia to build up and further improve the sales and business processes. And I was confronted with the thing, what to do now? We are in an extremely crisis situation, and we probably have to leave the country to evacuate our people. How to evacuate 250 people who are spread in the country? I don't know, 50 of them in Balikpapan, 50 in Ujung Pandang, another 20 in Medan. So all over this huge geographical country. And there, recalling my leadership essentials without the trust to the people. Of course, I had a small crisis team, a very, very small crisis team to manage that, to bring the people from all over the country together, to gather them together in Jakarta. It would not have been possible without encouraging them to make their decisions on their own. It would not have been possible to do it in time because we had no time. We had no time. All the expats, all the foreigners left Indonesia in those times. Permanently, the planes were coming and going. It was difficult enough to get a plane chartered for Siemens. And without this entrepreneurship approach, it would also not have been possible. Without coaching, it just would have not been possible. So also in this super extreme, and I hope you never are confronted with a situation like that, it was probably the toughest in my lifetime, and I will never forget that. But also here in this extreme scenario, maybe even more so in such an extreme scenario, had nothing to do yet with digitalization, had nothing to do yet with contact minimized economy, but was the crisis in my life, business crisis, country crisis, political crisis. And I can tell you it worked. Also thanks to these, maybe some more, but definitely with these leadership essentials to manage the team, get out of the crisis. All our people came back. We brought them to Singapore. We rented an airplane. All of them, I was lucky I could bring them back after 2 weeks. I stayed there with a small team in Jakarta. And well, we managed it very, very well.
Amazing. I have heard a different version, slightly shorter version of your sharing, but today you are able to share the detail. And I think I can imagine the risk, the personal risk involved in yourself, your family, and also the employees and their family. You know, it is a crisis that I still remember because I was very young back then, but I remember that crisis. Yeah, it was Singapore was on high alert, just to let you know, because we were also worried that the geographical fallout after the regime change. Yeah, so it was really a big shake to the entire region.
Yes. Very, very true, Kenneth.
So I would like to probably position one of the questions on behalf of my student, because I believe many of them are probably in this situation. So what is the real difference between a leader and a manager?
Yes,
it's sometimes
a very valid question. Difficult or maybe not difficult to be answered, because there is a huge difference. Usually people start after they are promoted after some years to become a manager. A leader, you are not promoted to become a leader. You experience this by yourself, you develop your own, you improve yourself to become a leader, to get out of sheer only a manager role to a leader role. It's much beyond managers. It's much beyond business processes. It's about inspiration. It's about motivation. All the leadership essential I could repeat now, it should not be boring. But usually the best answer would be you probably, hopefully start as a manager, as a good manager, and hopefully in the course of your career, you get an inspiring leader.
So in a sense, we could actually say that the essential of a leader actually is also the essential of a good manager.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. And I think it is important to embrace this, because I think the large majority of us will be a manager at some point in our career.
Absolutely. This is natural, should be a rather natural development in a company. You know, you start at the baseline. Hopefully after 2-3 years, you get your first team, becoming a manager, managing the team. But lifelong learning is needed to become an outstanding leader.
Yeah, excellent. Yes. I would like to go to the next question, because you earlier on mentioned about the LinkedIn. So, you know, should a leader in the digital age now be IT savvy and must have a social media presence to be effective?
I think so. It's a tiny little piece in the overall puzzle, probably. It helps a lot. It's also about own performance and productivity. And as I said before, it shows that whether it's LinkedIn or any other form of social media platform, there are so many meanwhile, and also this one further develop. So no matter what you do, you should do something and identify yourself as a leader with this new trend. And it's no more a trend, it's a fact. It's a fact. And be part of it. Better be part of it, then you are not surprised and overawed by it, but you can do everything to keep coping with the overall performance. I can really recommend that. Although, as I mentioned in my short lecture, I started different, being extremely conservative, having even problems to accept Facebook.
Yeah, we will try to add you into our Facebook group. For this group of students, we actually have a special Facebook group. So after this, I will add you. I will first look for you in the Facebook, and then I'll add you into our group. It will be
very good. Thank you. Thank you for the trust.
Yeah. And I have one more question from the student, and I thought this is a really good one. You know, how do you display a good command of leadership characteristic through platforms like Zoom, Skype, so all this online virtual meeting, which are the new normal? Because like what you mentioned, it is virtual, it is like real, and it's not quite real. You do not know, it's just like what people say, you do not know what is below the camera. Yeah, so would
yes.
you share with us?
Yeah, again, a very important and good question, of course. And it's a little bit reminds me to what I said with the last leadership essential I mentioned, namely the presence part. How can a leader be present in a physical world? It's basically in this direction, I would say. And this is very, very difficult because you need the presence. You need the presence, and now you have to perform this presence in a digital way. You can't do it anymore with physical reactions like the famous high five kind of thing. And also over the screen, you come different across than you come across sitting over the table of a cup of tea. So number one, you have probably to take even more time. This is the physical part, probably. You have to physically take more time for the people, because interacting in a digital way, whatever platform you use, doesn't matter, but interacting only in a digital way requires just more time than sitting eye on eye on the table. And also, you know, I'm one of the people, whether it's good or bad, I can't tell you, but people can read in my face how I think. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. It's not always good, really. And even after 30 years, I have not learned to really control my facial emotions. But now over the screen, all your facial emotions, all your gestures, all your movements, which are very clear seen when you are in the same room, probably are not seen so much over the screen. But you use all these things, whether conscious or unconscious. You use these things to express something which is important. It's important to express. We are human beings, and we can convince others also by our expression of the emotion without saying a word.
Yes.
And probably I'm a master in that. As I said, it's not always good if people can read what you think. But this is the big challenge now. How can a leader in a Zoom meeting bring all the things across, which requires maybe more words or a different volume of the voice, or maybe movements on the screen, which is, I don't know how it comes across the table, but this is a very, very important thing. Maybe I could encourage the students to work on that, to make a white paper or whatever. I think an extremely important topic to talk about and to work on. And if I can coach you or sparring, take me as a guinea pig if you want. I really would love to explore these things together with you.
Definitely, thank you. I quite like this particular question. I will rephrase it. If a particular person is introvert, he or she doesn't like to speak in front of many people, can he or she be a good leader?
Yes, and I know examples, but I will not disclose names. They are good leaders also, but they have to think about just what we mentioned, to bring across these, this emotional part. If they are shy to speak, if they are shy to be together with people, which is sometimes normal. Not everybody is the same. We have to accept the people as they are, and I accept them as they are. No matter where they come from, no matter which religion they have, and no matter which personality they have, extroverted or introverted. Both has its pros and cons. And so an introverted person can be a good leader, no doubt about, and can be even an inspiring leader, but have to consistently, like every other person, reflect his own, appearance. How would it come across? If I have the right thoughts, if I know what I want, if I like the people, but I'm a little bit shy and I feel uncomfortable. So what can I do to compensate for the other thing which is sometimes missing? Others find it good. Others find, Bruck, you're a nice guy, but you're take too much room in the talk. This is what I hear from my person sometimes. This is also not good. So I also reflect these things. What can I do to compensate potential shortcomings or what is perceived as a shortcoming? And then it has to be done. It can be done. I'm absolutely convinced.
Yes, and I thought this is an important point you just made. We must embrace diversity. I hear this in your sharing, and we must embrace inclusiveness, meaning to say that leadership comes in also all shapes and sizes. And the best is that we must recognize it and basically welcome anybody with a diverse background. Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
I have one more question before we end the webinar. And I thought this is interesting because a lot of people are judged by how much profit you bring to the company. So sometimes when somebody can bring in more business, they say this is a good businessman or this is a good leader. So the question here is, should a leader's value be evaluated based on his or her ability to bring in profit for the organization, purely based on that?
No, a clear no. For sure, all people in the company, at the end of the day, work and contribute, whether it's the better expression, they contribute and have to contribute to the profitability and growth of a company. All of us in the company have to. But is it the only thing which counts? It's the final goal. The goal is to increase the profitability. It's not, sorry to say, it's not a social club. A business company is not a social club. It's not a Facebook kind of thing. It's really a business-oriented organization where everybody has the task to contribute, but not with everybody, and definitely also not with all the leaders. You can see only the order intake. It's many, many facets. Business has many facets, which hopefully at the end of the day lead to the ultimate goal of increasing the shareholder value at the end of the day. So only giving a target or whatsoever, or incentive target to a leader, this is the order intake you have to bring or the profit you have to make, this would be the wrong signal also, I find. There are many other things like employee satisfaction, customer satisfaction, innovation, which are the ground principles which lead at the end of the day to a successful business operations. But we have to consider many things.
Yeah, so I can see that the leadership is a lot more complex.
Oh, yeah.
You are able to help us to at least filter down to the 5 essential that we could remember and to practice them on a regular basis. Like what you say, you cannot do it once a week, once a month. You have to do it all the time. And I also believe that leadership is something that we can practice it with our family, our own personal life. It's also something that we live and breathe, we call it.
So don't forget about brushing your teeth.
Yes,
you always will remember Armin Bruck.
Yes, I will do that. Yes, and I would like to end with a quote before we come to the end of this webinar. But before that, I really like to really thank Dr. Armin Bruck for spending your precious time all the way from Germany. And we are very proud to have this, your first webinar with SIT. And I think all our students are really fortunate to learn from your experience. I would like to propose for all the students, we may not be able to hear them, but I would like to propose for all of them to show appreciation by clapping. Yeah. Yes, we can see them. Very good.
Thank you very much.
Yes, that's right.
And for me also a lot of pleasure to work with you and the team, Kenneth. It's a fantastic university. I'm really proud and thankful to be there on this advisory board. It makes so much fun also to work with the other colleagues and you and your colleagues. It's a kind of co-creation, and we should keep it going like that together with the students. Fantastic. And wish all of you a lot of success and personal satisfaction in the years to come. And we will manage the crisis. We will do it together. I know it.
We will do that. Thank you so much. And I would like to just quote from this particular book that talk about how, as a leader, we should unleash. So to empower other people. And over here, it covers one of your essentials, so which I thought is important to share. So allow me to quote. So leadership is about empowering other people as a result of your presence and making sure that impact continues into your absence. So meaning to say that after we finish off this webinar, we hope that all the important takeaway that Dr. Armin Bruck shared with us will continue to live in the lives of our students. So once again, thank you very much. And I'd like to wish everybody a nice evening ahead. And for Dr. Armin Bruck, a nice day ahead. Bye-bye.
Thank you. All the best, and unleash the inner giant.
Yes, we'll do that. Bye, everybody.
Ciao, take care. Talk soon.
Talk soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.